What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News in 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And I host the only online show in the world for fathers and dads that's sponsored by Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I am on the board, I always get that wrong. I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit. That goal is to showcase Blacks in the diaspora that are doing all their things in food, wine, and travel. We're broadcasting live July 17th at Staggers State of Things time. So, I'm getting right to the chase. Let's bring the ladies on. Here we go.
Hey.
You
got the title wrong. It's State of Things with Aisha and Jill now.
Okay. Yes. State of Things with Jill and Aisha. See, I messed everything up. I'm a total disaster. I'm a wreck. I'm a mess. Okay. It's State of Things time with Aisha and Jill. Live July 17th. We are ready. We're good to go. Ladies, how are you despite my mistakes?
Good.
How's the week been?
Oh, it's been great. I got I got to see my great aunt and still enjoying South Carolina. That was it's pretty uneventful, but it's been a good vacation, spending time with family. So.
Nice. Jill, what's been going on? Hey, well, first of all, Jill, how was your birthday?
Excellent. Thank you very much to Aisha, who she and Maddie both put together an amazing birthday reel for me. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And Dr. Vibe, thank you. It was great. I mean, I had a really great birthday, so much to celebrate. And so then I had a couple of lunches this week with people who wanted to take me out. But then because of the Delta, I kind of, backed off a little bit. Kind of putting myself on my own kind of lockdown again.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And Djokovic won on the day of your birthday.
He did.
He's something.
Djokovic. Yeah, he's something else. He's going for it in this next, the U.S. Open coming up. So
do you think he'll do it?
I think he could if he doesn't get knocked out, or it's like a lot of mental stamina involved, and if there's anybody who can do it, it would be him. Let's see.
Let's look at just over the last few weeks, the French Open, beating Nadal, then coming down from, was it 2 sets down in the French Open, and then a few weeks later doing Wimbledon. Wow.
I think that seems to be his new thing, to sit back. It makes it harder for him. But, Berrettini was really good, but he sat back, observed how they're playing and what the feel was, and then he always comes back. That's his thing. Tries to wear people out physically, and I think it works.
One last thing. I know people say we're not here to talk about tennis, but Jill and I like talking about tennis. Was it the last Wimbledon for Federer?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he'll go out that way. I think, however, he makes his last exit or whatever. I don't know.
All right.
I think we'll have to see.
Okay. All right. Okay, we've bored people enough with the tennis. Sorry about that, folks. Well, but we got to
have our own things.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's get to it.
Let's all politics.
Well, speaking of politics, let's get to it.
Yes.
Our first conversation story tonight. Biden gives an angry cry for action on voting rights, but stops short of calling for filibuster reform. Ladies?
I voted for Joe Biden. I'm very happy that I voted for Joe Biden, but right now I'm like, where are your guts? You got it. To me, right now, he should be standing in front of Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and being like, "What do you want? What do you need? We need this filibuster. What do I have to do? Because at this point, the two of them want something in return for whatever vote that they need. We have to get this filibuster out the way because of the voting rights. We're not going to be able to fix it unless they remove the filibuster. And I think, he did his speech. And one of my favorites on Twitter and, to do commentary and write for the Atlantic and such is Elie Mystal. And Elie, he said on Twitter, if you really want to hit people hard, you don't do it at 3:00 on a Tuesday afternoon. You do it on a Wednesday night, a primetime speech to really get people to listen. And I think that's part of the issue that I have with it, was that it wasn't, the speech just, it had emotion, but it didn't have the kind of power that he really needed to show on this. He really needs to say, I'm not playing with you. I'm not doing this. We are getting this done, no matter what we have to do. And I think that right now, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema really feel safe in their positions because they don't have an election coming up for a couple of years. But if they're going to get in the way, you have to figure out what their Achilles heel is, and and kick them in it.
Jill?
I think that I was kind of feeling the same way. Like, well, why didn't he do this? What are his options? What are we looking at on the table? What can he do? There's really nothing that he can do about Sinema or Manchin. Not really. And so I think he's at a point where he's kind of accepted that, but he keeps harping on the same thing over and over. And maybe the audience isn't for Joe and Kyrsten Sinema. Maybe it's for something else he's trying to flip. I keep hoping that they're in the background dealing with some other issues, because I must say that, the world is changing so fast, and, any day there's another disaster, there's something that happens that can tip the scale for a Republican that, is maybe ready to break from the Senate allegiance. He might, I'm just hoping, above all, that there is some kind of maneuver in the background, because clearly the audience is not Manchin. It just isn't going to be, especially now that we know that Joe Manchin went down to Texas for the fundraising event, and a lot of his fundraiser, it's a Republican fundraising event. So we already know he's a dino. We know that he and Kyrsten Sinema are not. But what I can't figure out is, what are we looking at? Is there something, for a president to do this? What is the strategy of going on television like that? And maybe Elie Mystal is right. Maybe it was just lip service. But there's a part of me, the way he kind of broke out and checked freaking Facebook yesterday, makes me think, that there's something going on that we're not privy to at the moment that's going to turn that tide. Because he broke about, Facebook. So I'm thinking he does have the capacity to break on somebody. That gave me the indicator of, like, he will check you if he has to, and probably wants to. The question is, why hasn't he? And trying to see the kind of standing above it and looking at it and imagining, what would I do? Because you really have a problem here with from Sinema and Manchin. We've had so much activism geared towards their pages, towards their offices, towards everything. There's nothing that's going to change their minds, short of, a disaster happening to either one of them. But it's really true that we are in a real whole shootout here, and they do feel comfortable. And I don't think the audience is to him about the filibuster, but yet, we have to start operating from the other angles of how do we get that done. And mainly it's got to be still sadly persuading and busting up what's going on with the Republicans to just get a couple more to vote with us. And I don't know, maybe some disaster, maybe things happen that start to make them change. I don't know. Maybe they're going to put Donald Trump's people come a little bit more aggressively, which is probably what they need to do something in order to show that the party is falling and not a safe place for them to hide either. That's my feeling, that they need to now start rooting up the party with arrests, indictments, or whatever, just to start getting people to go, I better make my allegiance to the Democrats because I don't want to be like thrown on the on the fire. So that would be the only strategy I could see that I would probably implement, but it could have just been a one-off too, that it's just the same old jibber jabber. But then again, I'm just not 100% sure what's going on with that.
Go ahead, Aisha. If I can just interrupt. So I just want to shout out to Jen Myers saying hello to all of us. Black Beauty is saying, right on, Aisha. I couldn't have said what you said any better. Thank you. You're on spot with your comments. HNY Fly once in cinema and match.
Honey Fly one.
Yeah, there we go. Are providing air cover for several of the Democratic senators who do not want to dismantle the filibuster. And then Black Beauty is saying, to Jill's point, I'm praying President Biden has a long-term strategy. Go ahead, Aisha.
I hope he has a long-game strategy too. But the one thing that I think is annoying myself and a lot of other people, particularly Democratic voters, is the notion that we haven't done our job. It's like, keep doing your job, get out there and make sure you do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. It's like, we can't do anything more. This has to be done from up top down. We can't do anymore. What you want us to do? Protest? We protested. We keep protesting. You want us to vote? They're making it harder for us to vote. The only way that will change is if they reinstall that fifth portion of the 1965 Voting Rights Act that makes sure that these states have to get their changes basically approved by the federal government, that there's oversight. And until we can do that, there's not much more that people
any of us can do.
Vote, because we can't vote to make the change. So until they're in a position to do that, we need to see something on this, because we're getting closer to another election, but not just another election. You have elections going on this November, okay? You have elections going on this November. Every year there's an election, whether it be a local election or a federal election. There are, or a state election, but you have elections going on every year. These voting rights, these new voting rights laws that they're putting through are going to affect state houses. When you affect state houses and state governments, that's going to only ensure that these voting rights bills get even more strict and prevent more people of color from voting. And that is something that, just, it really irks me at this point. It's like you're saying, work harder. What are you doing? Show us what you're doing. You don't have to show us everything, but at least, something needs to be said. And I wish I had faith in the fact that there were Republicans that were in vulnerable positions that would flip. But Mike Pence was almost hung, and he still pledges allegiance to Trump. So I don't have very much faith in the fact that they will, that there are any who will flip. I think that they will just leave.
Interesting. I mean, I think that there are a few that, of course, we know they received death threats and this whole thing, but I don't know if it's just thinking outside of the box and what can be done. And otherwise, it's just going to be, then there's just going to have to be a reality of accepting what's happening. I mean, other than that, I mean, I can't continue with the stress of this. And, I just, like I've always said to people, please have a backup plan about where you want to live. And the sad thing is that now with passports, the delay is really, really backed up. So if you are in the need that you need it, please just put it through now so that you are ready to go if you ever have to leave. This is just a very critical time. And I would hope that they have a strategy. I found them less transparent this week, the administration, which is why there's something niggling at me that feels like it's off and that something is going to go down. There's just something that feels off and something that they are dealing with. It felt very political this week to me for the very first time, but that's not a bad thing. The lack of transparency, in my opinion, it was like every move from Angela Merkel meeting with Kamala, Vice President Harris, to her being there on her farewell sojourn, her farewell tour. A lot of things were very, very strict and precise to this week, more than any time that we've seen. And I'm wondering what that means, because for me, it was like really the media was driving all the speculative stories. It was all the media, because it really was more about what wasn't being said. And so for me, I try to, when those kind of things happen, just sit back and go, what am I looking at? And what am I supposed to be seeing? But I do feel like, we had a few judges that are standing up and making some moves. We also had the DACA judge who,
yeah,
the recipients, the new ones coming in, that it was illegal. We also had the other judge, Fink or something in Michigan, who called old Lynn Wood and that Giuliani's Sydney, whatever her name is. So we have a couple of moving things happening, but I just try to see, like, in the course of a day, there's a lot of stuff that's not being sort of explained or accounted for. And I'm just hoping that we're going to get to the nitty gritty. We've had all the generals stuff coming out about Trump. And to be very honest with you, this week was very weary and just laden in my head about every single reason why we would never want Donald Trump to be president again. That was all you kind of went like, yo, this dude was mad crazy. The Guardian came out with its article, which was about Putin having information. The Daily Beast put out the same thing. The only problem for me is drop the documents, drop the tape, drop it. Right. I'm tired of this is, we need a big moment. And for some really weird reason, I believe we're going to get one.
Just before you start again, Aisha, yes,
Honeybee fly.
Honeybee fly, thank you. Honeybee fly, thank you. Honeybee fly. Yes, Aisha, we did our job. They need to do theirs. We are not going to organize our way out of this. Time to put some skin in the game. Schumer, Pelosi, and the like. Ancestors died for this. Also, Black Beauty says, LOL, the other thing to plan on the other than passport paperwork is our crumbling infrastructure. Most bridges and highways in the USA can't withstand a major traffic exodus.
No, they can't, but that's just going to be just one added advantage. I mean, what can you do? Most of the people that are going to get this infrastructure money, if they are not a Democrat, the Republicans are going to steal the money and they're going to put it to other programs. So that's a little bit daunting to think that these Republicans and Tennessee, that lame, I don't know what cretins they have living there that believe that, not promoting any vaccines at all is, they want everybody to look like Governor Abbott from polio, although he had a tree fall on him. But I mean, it's like we've gotten to a point of sheer stupidity in this country. And I'm talking about with your passports and your escape route or your hatch plan, is just have one. Just try to have one. That same thing of them talking nonsense about inflation. It's like, excuse me, there isn't that much inflation from the time of when Donald Trump, I still paid $4.80 for gas before the election of last year. So what the hell is everybody freak out? Inflation? There was inflation before Biden even got in. All that's happened now is the numbers have actually come back up to that $75 hotel you could get that was normally $500, but during the pandemic you could go for $100. Honey, they raised their prices back.
Yeah,
it's like it's like, come on, don't trip, stop tripping.
Airlines are ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, you could fly for $25. Like, you know, come on.
Now it's like $1,200.
Yeah, the inflation.
They've
jacked it right back up because I know.
But, you know,
go ahead.
But you know, the part about the infrastructure, think about this. They were so proud that they're going to get these 2 infrastructure bills passed, right? They're so excited about this. What did you do to do the infrastructure bills to get them to a point that you believe you can get them passed that you can't do on voting rights? That's the part I don't get. That's
because
go with that same fervor that you have about vote. I don't think that they are as enthusiastic about going after the voting rights bill as they were about the infrastructure.
I don't think this is anything that they can do in that particular instance because the states control what's happening with their votes. So this is a very interesting situation. It's like, how do you go in if the senators don't have relationships with the people in their state and who are orchestrating this? You know, we've got a lot of people who, what are they going to do? Georgia is going to be Georgia. That's just it. But they've got look at everybody who's running it.
But that's why they had that part. But that's why they had that part of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, because they knew states like Georgia that had historically been using these tactics to prevent people from voting needed oversight. They needed federal oversight.
Can I just ask why people don't have their identification? Is that so hard to get?
Well, it's not just about the identification part. It's the other part.
I get it, but that's all that people hear, because if that's all I'm hearing, or they can't get somewhere. Our ancestors actually did walk really far to go and do it. Sorry, guys, you're going to have to do it again. Sorry, young people, you're going to have to get in your cars and help your grannies and your grandpas and your uncles and everybody to get out to vote. This is not the time. You know, all you can keep doing is showing up. I mean, this is a point now, like, damn, okay, all right, the ID situation, I personally don't understand. I'm not trying to side with the Republicans on this, but why doesn't everybody have a national identification card? I don't understand that. We always have this conversation about some old lady in the boonies who can't get out. Please send somebody to this woman's house, if Biden and them really, and get the ID done. There's no excuse for it, personally.
Well, you know, it is. I have to say this, though. It is a challenge for some people. So, for example, like my state of Connecticut has this real ID that is going to be required by everybody as of October 2022. But that's what they're giving out for the driver's license. And so in order to do it, she had to show her birth certificate. The challenge was her birth certificate, the way her name is spelled on her birth certificate is different than how she spells her name. And so she had to go back to find school records from the segregated schools in South Carolina that would have a record of the fact that they changed the name. And she couldn't get them because the records were gone. So she had to literally get take my grandmother to go with her to swear on an affidavit that my grandmother was her mother, because my grandmother's name was
then those are the stories that people need to see. I had a grandfather who couldn't get his Social Security because he was adopted by a family, his stepfather, but he was never legally adopted. This only reared its ugly head when he tried to collect his Social Security and his name was different and all of this. But that's the money, and that's what Democrats probably need to be filming and having all over television. They need to have that, because then we still then it makes a lot of sense. But if you just pass by and keep saying rural, people in rural whatever, then you're like, whatever. If you talk about somebody, well, the orphanage burnt down, like in Canada, they're setting all your churches on fire, by the way, those crazy Catholic zealots. But my whole point is that that's where they should put some money in PSAs and stuff like that. Yeah. Hell, we could even create a place, a safe space for people to really speak about it and get government officials to actually do something. That would solve, other than having people like me even saying, what's the problem with IDs? We have to make it's like dummy proof. And that is a failure on their part.
Yeah.
It needs to come up. Okay. Well, because the other thing is, we have people that do census things and, they're not even citizens. And then that's always kooky and crazy. And there's money that's cut. They're not voters and they're coming into places. And, we have that argument too. Like, why? Because you're getting monies based upon a group of people that are living in an area from the federal government. And then when you find out that it's immigrant based, then that's another argument. And they need to do a little bit more on establishing what they care about in the Democratic Party, so people can actually see, okay, the DACA recipients, film them, show their lives, become familiar. That should be what's going on.
Like in my hometown, you can get a city ID card, and that they have that, so people who are illegal immigrants who want to open bank accounts and things like that, because you need a picture ID, can get an ID card. Of course, they can't vote, but it is one of those things where it does fit into our laws of ID for voting. So
true, but
people can get those.
But some people are upset with those. Some people are upset with financial monies going into communities with people who aren't citizens. How the allocation process goes. And that's what, with the census that Trump had. And we don't even know if that's even accurate, to be honest. We really don't even know all the crap that, happened during that period. But I do feel that in order to not hear this broken record of, the voter ID, the voting rights, you have to bring it alive. And typically what registers more with people is a relationship of relating with somebody. And maybe they could do that. Maybe VP Harris could get on that and start creating something, because it's not going anywhere. It's not budging. It's just not going to budge, because Georgia is Georgia and they're always crooked. They've been crooked as hell. But what happens is, the reason I'm saying this is because the urgency doesn't seem to be getting through to young Black voters in these parts. I'm talking young, signing up at 18, 19, because there's so much noise coming from the other side that your votes don't matter. It's not that, I still see a lot of lackluster interest. Yeah. And to be honest with you, those people do us a lot of harm by not voting.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that I made sure my daughter did when she woke up on her 18th birthday. The first thing I did was say happy birthday. The next thing I did was say, now let's register you
to vote. Same here with my daughter.
All right. Well, let's transition to second story of the night. Texas Democrats who fled state for DC call on Congress to pass voting bill rights. So people who are not aware, in the state of Texas, which is a very interesting state at the quietest of times, the Democrats stopped a few months ago a very interesting, some people would say regressive voting bill. And now it's come up again. And what they have done is the Democrats have just left.
They've left. What I'm talking about.
And just come to watch, say, okay, President Biden, we need your help on this. What you gonna do? Or Congress, what you gonna do? Ladies, your thoughts.
But it's even more involved than that. Remember, the Texas House and the Texas Senate called a special session just to do the voting rights. And mind you, there's no election coming up immediately that requires them to do this. They're trying to get ahead for 2022. And So there was no need for a special session. They could do this next session when they get back, either in the fall or January or whenever they get back, right? They have time. There was no need for a special session. So for a special session, they needed a quorum in order to even begin the voting process. So the Democrats left so they wouldn't have a quorum.
Mm-hmm.
And the governor continues to say he's going to keep calling a special session until they get back,
right,
so that they can have a quorum. And so that's one of the reasons why they're staying in DC.
And he cut their paychecks.
And he cut their paychecks,
Yes.
and he's threatening to have them arrested upon their return. Now,
Wow.
We make about between $4,500 and $7,500 a year, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah. And the
that's it.
Yeah.
For that
Because
shit.
most of them have other jobs.
Yes.
The Speaker of the Texas House offered to send them a plane to fly them back to the special session, and they refused. They've been in DC. They've met with Kamala Harris. They've met with Joe Manchin. They're trying to set up a meeting this week with Joe Biden. They're staying there, and they are calling. They're really working Congress to get this voting rights bill passed. And you know what it's going to take? It's going to take more Democrats from other states to kind of do the same thing.
That one interesting thing that you brought up about Manchin, and now what I want to say, what I think the solution for Manchin is, just on a whole, because I feel like the Texas Senate meeting with him, I think he's useless. I think he and Kristen Sinema are both useless, as I posted this week, as a white crayon on white paper. I personally feel that what needs to happen from Schumer and is to remove Manchin from his committees.
Yeah.
And he is on an oil committee on the for fuel and all of that, and he's the head of it. And I think he should be. And I think he should be cut. They should cut him loose because if he wants to vote Republican, then I guess he might as well do it, because he's basically doing that. And why he's holding us hostage is because I feel like they're afraid to let him go all the way over there, because he'll start tipping on the side of, the Republicans, and then our House is just going to have to every bill that they bring forth. The interesting thing here is with our Texas people, but I do think they should cut him and Sinema, because then they are of no use to their little lobby friends that keep giving them kickbacks. Take him off, remove him. And I think that's the push that all of us out here fighting the good fight need to do this week, because I don't really enjoy watching, our Beatty and all of the other elected officials also in Texas being, arrested across the country for protests about our Voting Rights Act. I don't like this. I think that with Texas, with any luck, Governor Abbott will catch that new monkey virus that they identified down in Texas, which is a bad one too. The CDC just said their monkey virus is running loose down there. So literally, and maybe it's just, we're at a really, really bad point, and there has to be, for me, I keep saying how pissed off I am with Schumer, and he's going to have to start really holding people's feet to the fire, because I do believe that when they go back to Texas, they will be arrested. And then I think it's going to backfire on them, on Texas. But I don't know. I just feel that Texas is an animal on its own, and it's not going to change until we actually do something pretty firm.
I'm just going to interject. It's ironic you say this, because Cinnamon Canella says, if Georgia is a mess, Texas is crazy.
Absolutely.
Black Beauty says, seems to me as though our Democratic aides to our Congress people should be holding forums via TV with Republicans and Dems, stating what the people want. Be mindful not all Republican voters follow 45.
True.
And Cinema Canella says, with Florida not behind.
But we have to. Oh, sorry, Aisha, go on.
And the thing of it is that this whole thing with Texas in this vote and the Democrats leading is the fact that you have a governor who is literally threatening to arrest people for not doing something that he wants them to do. Here's the thing. It's not like they're going to vote for it anyway. Okay. He's going to arrest them. So the arrest is supposed to force them to vote in favor of this bill. I don't get the point of the arrest. And when he gets sued by the Texas Democrats, which he will, for arresting them, they will not be charged. They can sue him. He's putting himself in the state in a really, really bad position right now.
Oh, but he's a man with a mission, and believe me, he has a backup plan, because people who look and appear crazy tend to have a couple steps that they are looking forward to accomplish. The problem is that instead of us talking about we want the voter ID, we also need to establish that people, it's beyond just the voter ID, as much as this is all about them having the capacity to, whoever wins an election, they will be able to flip it to their liking all the time. Exactly. So for me, that's why it's even more urgent and pressing that people understand that. That's like all the Democrats win and I'm one of the electorates and I go, but I don't like them and I'm going to make it where the Republican won. That is goofy. That is like out of a really bad freaking movie. And then it would be pointless to even go and vote. So we have a problem here, and that's what the urgency is. With Abbott, we also know that he's up for re-election next year. What is going on that he is doing all of this towards the end of the year? Because
he wants to be reelected.
And so, and he's going to make damn sure that even if Beto runs against him and won, that the electors could go, yeah, but we like Abbott and we want him to win.
Right.
So, this is a mafia running our country. This is a mob. We might as well have John Gotti run when he was alive, run for president. He might have actually been better. The same type of people. They're the same type of caliber of people. And, so for me, this is an incredibly depressing thing that's going on. And I don't even know what to say anymore.
This is the saddest thing about all the states and the voting rights bills and that people don't realize. It's not that they're just trying to cut your access to the ballot. They're trying to make sure that even if you do get to vote, it does not count.
Right.
They can nullify it. And so for that reason, we have no excuse to not register and to not vote, because we have to get those people out who want to nullify our votes. And those are our state officials. And that's why I get very upset when people do not vote in their state elections, in their local elections, because those end up, as we're seeing now, being
very critical,
more important.
Yeah.
Even
to your life, to your day-to-day life, it will impact you.
All right. Just want to interrupt. Honeybee Fly 1, I got it right, says that's okay. I've got Jasmine Crockett's bail money ready. Native Texan here in Austin.
Ah, nice. Yes, I think everybody's funding and raising money on different platforms to try to help these people. Yeah. This is unacceptable. And I just feel that we're going to have to mobilize even harder. We are.
This is going to be a bigger fight this time.
It's going to be bigger, and it's just all of this mobilization. I mean, like I said today, with the communists out here, people trying to Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz. Orange County got him out. Then they came back. They went to another place. Then they're back.
Okay, hold on. Matt Gaetz was at, what was it? Britney Spears?
Speaking about it.
Oh, why?
Because she's young.
Don't go there. I behave now. Don't go there. Okay, good. Aisha, you just stay in South Carolina. That's Connecticut behavior. So don't go there. Don't go there. All right. All right. Let's move on. Again, folks who are watching this live, thank you for all your comments. Keep them coming. Really good stuff. We have a great audience and great family. Next up, dispiriting setback. COVID deaths and cases are rising globally. What's going on, family?
Because anti-vaxxers will be the death of us. You know, they really will. I think that we've had some interesting moves. This is when you can see some kind of change, when there's a little bit of movement. San Francisco has now put forth an initiative that you won't be working if you don't have a vaccination. A lot of the hospitals have started doing. LA is on the late freight because Garcetti, I don't know, the sooner we figure out what the hell he's doing, the better. Either go to India or whatever the hell you're doing, man. But it's obviously increasing. We had the July 4th holiday. It shouldn't be a surprise to people, but you have people on different shows still saying that the vaccines aren't effective. So
that'll be coming up a little bit later.
Yes, but we still have something about accountability that we have to start pushing through. And personally, I wish people would start working so they wouldn't be watching television so much, watching Fox News and having all this nonsense in their head, because the more that they're home, the more they hear these people. You got to remember that these people, and I want to be very clear, they are feral. These people who support Donald Trump are feral. They are the same people who were pissed off when Michelle Obama had a garden in the White House and was trying to give kids fresh, healthy food. These people have no breeding. They have no education. And even if they do, they're just twisted. These people are like animals that you touch them and you're trying to help them and they bite your hand off. You give them money to take care of their raggedy kids and their raggedy family and their raggedy house and raggedy cars, and they will still take their ass out and vote for that piece of pus called Donald Trump. It's very simple. In their raggedy lives and their whole raggedy family, that's just the way it is. So my whole point is, nature is saying, we all step in, because this is, these are the same fraudulent Christian, Luciferian worshiping Christians who have taken Christ and made him and pimped out Jesus. They pimp him out, because if he walked in today, they'd be the first ones to throw him up and kill him again. These are the people who claim to love the miracles that Jesus had, all these incredible gifts that he gave. Those are the ones sitting back like, I don't know. Where, if you don't believe in science and you do believe in the Lord, why wouldn't you think that coming and making this shot and putting it together is somewhat of a miracle, that all the pieces came together and people worked feverishly? What the hell kind of Christian are you? That God, if everything comes from God, you can't see the good of, like, a vaccine was created to heal you and your community? But no, these are feral. They are the ones that were never, I've said it before, they are not in the book of life. They never were. Their names were not written. So now you know. So don't even try it with them. Their names were never there. And now we know why. Because this is what we got, and it's going to get worse. And I'm not an overly religious person. Spiritual, but I've tried to weigh it from all sides. And I've just said, well, if there is a God and this whole book of life thing, I guess we see now they ain't in it. And they basically are spreading illness and disease because they don't have anything to look forward to. And, the South, as someone said, the South may never rise again, but they're damn hell-bent on taking all of us down with them this time.
Yeah. Being down south these last couple of weeks, the strangest thing has been the few times I've gone into stores. Like the first time we went into a grocery store, and I was masked up. My daughter was masked up, and we went in the store. We're looking around, and we're just like, where are the masks?
Right.
And then we remembered where we were. We're like, oh yeah, that's right. We're not at home. Where they are enforcing that mandated law, the state law, that you have to wear a mask when you go inside someplace. Because when at home, everybody's masked up. You don't see anybody without a mask. The clerks, everybody in the store with a mask on. You come in the store without a mask on, somebody reminds you that you need a mask on, and they give you one. People carry extra masks just to give other people who may have forgotten a mask. Okay, so walking around here with the mask on, people are looking at us like we're strange.
Right.
And it was so funny because I had a Prince mask on the other day, and I was walking through, and I stopped, and I had to ask this guy a question. He was like, "Oh, I like your mask," and I'm thinking, because I forgot which mask I had, and I'm like, anybody can. I said, well, anybody can get one. I mean, anybody can wear a mask. He's like, no, I'm a Prince fan. And I was like, oh. But no, nobody around here is wearing masks when they go out. My father and stepmother, they wear theirs every place. My great aunt wears hers every place. But these people around here, I'm like, aren't y'all worried about the D variant?
No, somebody asked me the other day why I had mine on. They must have been from like the OC or one of those other. And I just said, I don't know you. What? You tripping about my mask? I said, I don't know who the hell you are, what you do, what your habits are, but I know I'm wearing my mask. So, vámonos.
All right. That's an update with some comments. New member of the family, Blue Rains. I think once the FDA fully approves the vaccines, it will be mandatory for many businesses and schools. Some are already making it mandatory.
Yep. My daughter has to have hers before she goes back to campus. Well, she's already vaccinated, but they make sure that's required.
Good stuff. Black Beauty saying, well, here's the thing. 45 and his goons are determined to try to revive the COVID-19 just to try to discredit President Biden and science.
And kill more people. Kill more people than... Yeah, that's their plan. The plot is we will have... I mean, if they can kill another 600,000 or 7, that's what they want. So they can flip it on Joe. That's who they are.
They want to blame the rise on him.
They ain't fooling nobody.
Blue Rains, I'm in the South and I still wear my mask. The vaccine rate is too low to go without a mask. Yep. It's insane. And Blue Rains also says, no, they are not worried about any variant.
Nope.
They aren't.
I know when I go home, there's a 68.4% vaccine rate.
Mm-hmm. Which is amazing.
But down here, it's like, what, 30, 34?
You're kidding. Yeah.
No.
It's bad.
They showed it on the news the other day. It was like
34?
They said that Americans, those people could flip it where our vaccines become useless.
Mm-hmm. 34%.
34.
So I'm wearing my mask everywhere.
Everywhere.
And trying not to go anyplace. I spend most of my time here in the house with my dad.
Wow.
And we also have the Peruvian Lambda, which is here too, a variant. So the virus is increasing itself, and we shall see. But all people don't understand about a virus is it wants to survive, and it will do everything it can. And even if it needs to make itself stronger, it will make itself stronger in stronger bodies.
Wow. Wow. Well, this ain't going away anytime soon, obviously.
No, it's not.
And people not wearing masks still. Wow.
They're not doing a lot of things. And I'll be damned if I'm going to restaurants or having people serve me food. I don't know what they're like. I don't know who they are. If a company cannot like assure to me that they've taken all necessary precautions, why the hell would I frequent them? Why? I don't know who you have behind the counter. It's all a transactional relationship of trust. So yeah, I'm talking about even going to Kinko's or FedEx or any of it. If I don't know that your people are taken care of, that's like going in and there's somebody who has like typhoid fever or, Ebola. Is that what we would face the same thing if this were Ebola? Get out of here.
It's interesting you mentioned that because where I live, Toronto, we just are in stage 3. So they just started allowing indoor dining, not full, but there was one chain, and I've got to remember, I saw this and I've got to make sure I said it right. The biggest fitness chain in Canada is called Good Life Fitness. And it said that they are not requiring their employees to be vaccinated.
I wouldn't be going to Good Life.
I just went, what?
No, and it has nothing to do with their stupid rights, because this is an emergency situation. And like I said, God help us if this were Ebola or something even more. You think we would be putting up with people like that who feel they shouldn't have a vaccine? I tell you what would start happening. People would be pulling out their guns and shooting Ebola unvaccinated people on the spot. They would just be like, yo, get the away from me, because that's where we are. It's getting to the point of like, you stay on that side of town and I'll stay on mine. This is the shop that's for vaccinated. I have no problem going there, but I can't deal with this other nonsense. It's ridiculous. And take your raggedy kids with you.
I personally look forward to the first charge against someone for attempted murder who's unvaccinated. I'm looking forward to that.
But there might be.
For that. Yes, that's what I'm looking forward to.
This is the thing. Did you see the tweet the other day? A man hired a nanny. She told him she was vaccinated. Come find out, she brought her kids over. Okay, kids are really the most vulnerable, and we know this. And we don't know how it's going to react to them. You have a few kids, but the 19-month-old got it, and I think the 3-year-old got COVID. The other adults who were around this nanny did not. Here's my question. She told them she was vaccinated when she took the job. Should she be prosecuted? Why should they incur hospital fees? I personally see lawsuits coming, lawsuits, and jail time for some people. Because even though she may have been asymptomatic and she was apparently because her child had it, I'm sorry. This is a problem for me. And it's going to make a lot of lawyers very rich. That's another reason why they want this.
I swear, let one, I'm vaccinated, but let one unvaccinated person spit at me. Oh my God, you are going to jail. I'm calling the police. I'm saying somebody tried to kill me. What was the weapon? Spit. Unvaccinated spit.
But I mean, this goes into the thing of like, you legally are telling somebody that you're hiring, I want to only have vaccinated people. So either the states have to come up with something. I know we have a digital thing that's going to have a QR code, which will be able, you can show, and hopefully everybody gets on the board. And screw your rights, people, because I have a right to not be put in a situation. It's bad enough I have to go out and play Russian roulette every damn day with all you gunslingers. It's too much. It's just too much. This is too much stress.
I mean, I was reading about a restaurant owner who decided, he's like, I'm firing anybody who's not vaccinated.
Yeah, I know.
I'm hiring people who are vaccinated. And people were like, oh, how dare, what do you mean, how dare he? What? You want COVID food?
Yeah.
Is that what you want?
And he might have family that works in the business, an elderly mother. He can do what he wants. I mean, I don't, and then the Republicans took it a bit further with Rand Paul saying, oh, so if people can do what they want in their own personal businesses, he wanted to open up the door about water fountains and colored people again. This is how they go. And they go back to such a place of where they're so conveniently comfortable, don't they? Fascist nostalgia. That's what they all have. Sitting down, drinking a bunch of mint juleps, talking about the good old days of Hitler.
Oh boy. Oh
The
my
smell
God.
of burning bodies in a gas oven. Yeah, that's what they want us to have. That's what they wax poetically about it. Even they can go to hell.
All right. Well, look, we're gonna take a break in just a moment. We're gonna catch up.
One more thing on this though. The
Go
other
ahead.
thing too is that it's getting worse. One, because of the unvaccinated people, but it's summertime. They started doing concerts again. They started doing all these things again, and these people are rushing to be in crowds. I watched the NBA finals, okay, and they show people outside Milwaukee, outside the venue, watching the game, and they're all packed in a crowd, no freaking mask,
no masks. Yep.
And wait until we have the fall. That's when it got worse last year. Remember, that's when it really ramped up.
Yeah, because the flu season took also.
All right. So before we go to break, let's get as you know, if you've been here once or you've been here all the time, the comments are flying. So Black Beauty, even in Ohio, it's 49.89%.
Dumb people.
Blue Rain says, yes, Jill, I don't eat inside restaurants. Excuse me, and limit where I go and who I'm around.
Yes.
Cinema saying masks have become a thing of the past. Noon is wearing it.
No one.
No one is wearing it. Sorry, I said noon. No one. I need my hooked on phonics is disasters tonight, right from the beginning. Black Beauty, less than 50% vaccinated fully. It's so sad.
These are the people who have family members like that. These are people who talk about the FDA. Let me just make this really clear about and half of all the drugs that they see on television that go direct to consumer. Yes, they may be. Do you know, I'm going to say the black box that's on there, the reason there's a large, wide breadth of don't do this, this will cause this, side effects, because most of the drugs have a dual purpose. So once they can do two things. So the FDA approves only one aspect of what something can do. And there are numerous deaths with all of them. HPV vaccine has had theirs, Viagra, all of them. There are, you can go and find the stories, but it gets to a level where the cap is like where it's acceptable. Now, you think of having all these people who are like, oh, I don't know, this is terrible. Somebody died from this. This is just what happens in the pharmaceutical thing. But the other crazy thing that's going on, which we really need to mention, there is a big war going on with the IPs, the patents that are going on with these drugs. And we got to really pay attention to what's happening in that field and who's trying to control them. Because the reason the breakneck speed happened on one hand was because all of that bureaucracy was shifted. Moderna, BioNTech, all have come forth and talked about the advancements and progress they are seeing with cancer drugs, with MS, with all sorts of illnesses by using mRNA. So the big chase right now, and when you're hearing Republicans going after it, go look and see where their stock shares are. It's really, really critical that you do this because we have a potential for an HIV vaccine, for some different forms of cancer, because these labs that were already working on these viruses were labs that were working before COVID came around. They were already doing such great stuff. The difference this time is because of this whole, let's get rid of this IP situation and everything and the world come together, they actually shared very valuable information with each other, unlike any other time we've ever seen with any kind of medical breakthrough. So people don't understand that aspect. And yet again, it's not just being politicized to murder people. There is the devil in the details, is it's being politicized because somebody's making money somewhere else, and it's the Republicans. So start looking at where they've invested and you will find your answer.
All right. Let me just catch up with the rest of the comments. We're going to go
Sorry.
to break. No problem. It's all right. Cinema Canella, we have all been vaccinated since February. Just wait. Hope my co-worker lives to tell.
Ooh.
Says because he did mention, she has, as we speak, she has a co-worker that's in the
Wow.
hospital. Jen is saying, I'm so over unvaccinated people get the D shot.
Yeah.
Cinema says, we're going back in history. This has been a hot week. Even Mother Nature is talking. Germany flooding, fires in California, etc. We talked about that. And yes, Jen says, I have lost respect for people that refuse to get the shot.
I agree.
Right, and it's not about not knowing what's in it. Let's be real. The reason it's able to pass by the FDA so quickly is because they use the base from other vaccines to create this vaccine. I mean, you have viral strands are very similar in a lot of ways, and they used a base that they would normally use to fight a virus and just tweaked it until they found whatever was needed in this vaccine to protect against this particular virus. So don't say it's not because I don't know what's in it. But guess what? You've been vaccinated against MMR. You had your MMR vaccine. Some people have had chickenpox vaccines. All of that, shingles vaccines. All of those vaccines are viral to prevent viruses. They all have the same molecular base.
All right.
The problem is that the lobbyists pay so much money to have people write articles to make sure it gets on the lips and the tongues of everybody in the audience that they want. And then it gets picked up. It's called advertising, and those are the you need to go after. Sorry. You need to start clamping down on what advertisers are allowed to say and what they can't, and hold them accountable. It's absolutely off the hook. It is manipulative. It's divisive. And if you have more money in the ad game, you win. So you could be pitching forth anything. But, I can't even believe that we're dealing with a time where people are more concerned about this vaccine than what's in their damn food. I mean, what's in that McDonald's you're eating? I know it's been approved, but excuse me. I mean, have you seen what you're eating? Do you know? Yeah. Do you know how your animals are being slaughtered and killed?
Yeah.
Okay. Break time. Calling it now. All right. Blue Rain saying, I lost a coworker to COVID all because he didn't get the vaccine. Black Beauty. Yeah. And to boot, many Tennessee parents refusing to vaccine against COVID-19 and school shots for kids. Wow.
They are against vaccines, period, in Tennessee for anything.
And dentistry.
Okay, I'm not gonna leave it at that. We are gonna go after that take. We're gonna go for a quick break. Look, thanks for everyone who's watching live with your comments. Keep them coming. When we come back, we're gonna go outside of North America and talk about some of the events that are happening in Cuba and in South Africa. So keep it tight. We're on State of Things with Aisha and Jill on July 17th. Jill, Jill. All right. I need to take a break more than anybody else. Oh, see ya. Go. So ladies, what is going on?
Just that he needs to get it together.
Sick of that. I am sick of it.
Something is seriously wrong with you.
Why is he still there?
She shouldn't be near Congress.
You need an exorcism, because I don't know what is wrong with you people.
It was so powerful.
And I really wish everybody would stop bowing down to this.
What is he talking about? This makes no sense.
They know they are not the oppressed party, but they love being the superior ones, and they want to flaunt it.
So it was always made political, particularly for people of color, and the LGBTQ population.
We end off every episode with a cockroach. This episode's cockroach.
Everything.
Everything?
All the things are going on.
All the things?
Mm-hmm.
We are back. And I love watching that promo.
Me too.
I love and always hail up to Maddie, our intern, who just is doing fantastic stuff. Help. There we go. Amplify State of Things. So we are back. Man, that was quite the first half. I wanted to take a break. I even changed my shirt because I said maybe I'll get my pronunciations right now. Right? Usually usually, don't want to sound sexy, you see the ladies do a change of attire, but no, I did it this time just to add some flavor to the conversation. So let's see, we got some more comments. Let's get on to the next. Black Beauty says, my country in many ways is a major embarrassment. Not even in third world countries. Even third world countries refuse vaccines. Okay. And then Cinema goes, and dentistry. Ja. I'm not gonna even go there. Let's get to some other things. And this is another good one. All right. Cuba. Cubans wonder what's next after anti-government protests. So for those who've not been keeping up to the news, it's reportedly some of the biggest protests since Cuba was a communist country have been happening. People complaining about lack of food, lack of available things to buy. And I have been to Cuba, and it is very limited what people have access to. And then during these protests, the Cuban government shut down the internet. And now people are wondering, on the people in America, say, is America going to help out Cuba? Should America help out Cuba, ladies?
Well, they were okay when Trump put all the embargoes on them. That's why they're where they are now. You know, he got rid of what Obama had set up. So now they all want to go and be worrying about, that's how Cuba got here. Remember that? Because how I know is I was able to get a particular drink that's only in Cuba, that all the trade was happening. And then good old Donald Trump came along and shut that down. And yeah, it was about time that they ran out of, they were limited and didn't have any options. You know, we often think it's just immigration, but he squashed them. There were some things coming, you know, and yes, we're going to have to help them. We've always indirectly kind of helped them. And let's just put it out on the table, though. This was still residual Donald Trump stuff. Let's get the argument straight.
I think it goes a bit deeper than that, because the people, in just reading articles from people who are protesting in Cuba, that it for a lot of them, it goes back even since before that. It's this whole, that the impact a lot of this has had, especially with the but it's affecting a lot of Afro-Cubans as well. They're getting hurt the most, actually, because
Aisha, I'm going to ask you to take a break because your audio is playing games on us. Jill?
I think that what she's saying is that
there we go.
Embargo doesn't really have a negative impact on their economy. It's their reforms that they were having more of an issue with. And so they were dealing with, I mean, I don't really know too much about all the names. I know that there was Vietnamese leadership of communism that went down there in 2018 and got everybody all ramped up and urged them to embrace a market economy like Vietnam did, and I guess in the 80s. And so it has been brewing. She is right about that. It has been brewing, and it's something that they want to see change. And I guess since now this is what it's dwindled down to, the activists just decided to make their move and all get together. I think this was like the move, you know, the timing of it.
Cinema saying Cuba is difficult. The government has total control. I don't think the U.S. should go there. USA should go there.
Interesting. Maybe so.
Aisha, let's give it another try.
It's going to take, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit lower, but it's much clearer. So we'll take it.
It's going to take more than just American involvement. I think it's going to have to be more than just America trying to get the Cuban government ousted, because everyone should have interests due to trade. I mean, there's no reason why the G7 can't get together and say, you know, look, we should do something about Cuba.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Jill, I saw your head turn. What are you thinking?
I mean, I think it's always been that really, I mean, they've been dealing with this for so long. It's such a, where do they go, as people? It's time for them to come into the 21st century, but meanwhile, we're going back to the 16th here. So I don't even know if we are in any position to really actually help them. I just find it rich that the Republicans want to go into this whole thing of what we should be doing. I'm sure we will be doing something, but we can barely help ourselves. I mean, it's really
war.
The Republicans have been itching for a war. They can't, they just want war. I think that, their reforms came too late in the country of Cuba and how people are living. And I also think that, cutting off the internet is just, the internet has shown people different ways to live in the world and, and how to communicate. And many countries have cut off their internet before. Iran has done it. Mm-hmm. Israel has done it. It shouldn't be a shocker when you're trying to control what's happening in your country. I think South Africa did it the other day too. So, I mean, what can we say? Everybody's having to deal with their citizens being incredibly unhappy. And it sucks to be them. Okay. It sucks to be anybody who's thought being in a leadership role was going to be easy. And we have all the wrong leaders in government. I mean, I don't know. You look at Bolsonaro, you look at this. There was some weird phase that happened when Trump and that whole vibe. But what's interesting about the unrest that's going always makes me think there's a shift happening and the people are becoming more vocal. These people are not leaders, and people know that they're leaders that they have. It's time for the whole Cuba thing to change. I mean, they're waiting in line for medicines. And they too have a lot to share, but of information that could be helpful. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know if America should go in or not. I just don't know.
Okay. All right, let's move to another place in the world. There's upsetment. South Africa Zuma riots. What's behind the violence and looting? So South Africa, well, anyone have any takes on that?
Well, it's pretty much almost the same. They're fighting their government. They're trying to, fight for more freedom. This started because of the last president they had being sentenced for corruption. Right. And now they have yet another president in place who basically is doing the same thing, and the people want to end the corruption in their government. And so they started protesting, and the protest turned to what it did. It's no different than when protests here and people get so frustrated here that they begin looting and rioting. The thing of it is that there's not anything that's going to come from that. The saddest part is that 212 people died?
And 2,500 people arrested.
2,500 people arrested. That is the saddest part of this. I think for South Africa, the people they lived under what, I can't even find the word. What was the word? Apartheid. They lived under apartheid for so long, only to have their only to be oppressed again in what they believed was to be a free government.
Unfortunately, in my opinion, in all of these outbursts and these the kickback with your government, there's one critical thing missing in each one of them: leadership. Even the protests have no assigned leadership. There's no Nelson Mandela in South Africa. There's no Martin Luther King here. There has to always be one person. I'm sorry, that's like your team leader who sort of, it's but no one wants to sacrifice or follow anybody or believe in anybody. It's just kind of just chaos. And that's why it's a flip of a coin to decide, to determine. It's anybody's guess if it's going to work out or not, or get worse. The fact that there is no one who's a pinpoint or a leadership role putting everybody together, means there's no threat for the governments. The governments hate when there's one leader who has the potential to sway a crowd. There's been no personality, no charisma, charismatic leadership on any of it in this time. Like, not even, okay, not that I support Che Guevara, but even on that level, like, there's nobody. It's every man for himself. Let's come together and we're all collaborating, which is why I'm very concerned about the outcome for all of it, because you don't know what your loyalties are, your allegiances. You know, you just don't know. You could be planning to do something really bomb, and you got, you know, Tommy over here who's going to go and make a deal on the side. And next thing you know, he'll be running the, you know, freaking country. So it's too easy to bust up, because what's happened is all the rules, or all the players in the game, are not at their usual spots. You know, how crazy is it? We have a Haitian president murdered, and it's from some dude in, like, maybe in Florida, who was mad because he thought he should be president, if that's true. So we have some really crazy things going on, and there's no authority in any place. And no one's looking for an authority figure either, because nobody wants to listen to one person, because people don't trust anybody. And that, talk about a great way to bust up a country and have China and Russia to come in and eat it all for breakfast. It's all there. And America's not in a place. Sadly, Donald Trump did his job. He's probably going and collecting his check as we speak. But he's still mad that Scotland wouldn't have their golf game in his raggedy golf course.
Well, it's not just, I mean,
we're ripe for the picking. We are not anybody to come in and say what people need to do, unless we humble ourselves. And we're not there yet.
Well, you know, it's not just that. I think that it's the collaboration. I think it's the fact that everyone wants to lead and no one wants to follow. Mm-hmm. That is one of the biggest problems. And so, you know, I see that kind of in like the Black Lives Matter movement sometimes.
I don't even know who they are, actually. I'm just torn.
Everyone wants
Sorry,
to,
my language.
wants to follow. But you also, it's ironic that I'm going to say this, and I really hate that I have to say this, but it's the reason why Trump is so effective. With his people, because his people are willing to follow him.
They want a leader, though. That's the point.
A leader, and they want one, and they're they're following. They're following. They pledge their loyalty. These are people who are willing to die for him on January 6th. Yeah. Don't forget that. They were willing to die for him, and they were willing to kill for him.
And so in their mind, they see the persecuted leader, like in a twisted way, of like Martin Luther King, who's trying so hard for us. That's a pretty brilliant scheme, how he created that. Because when you know your people are thirsty, you don't go and give them like fire water. You give them water. He gave them exactly what they were thirsty for, and even stuff they didn't know they wanted. And that's what's missing in all of these movements. Even in France, when they were fighting, everything, there's nobody who's grabbed other people by the, because if there's one person who comes who's got more charisma, I guarantee Trump would be like, ain't nobody checking for you, bro. That's how it works. Leadership has to have a certain level of charisma. Sorry. It just does. It always has. You've got to be able to convince people to go out, and, you know, Napoleon figured out how to get those poor people to go on Waterloo with him, even when many of them knew they were going to be dying. There was a thing of like honor, respect. That's gone too. Also because we don't have mandatory service, like where people go and do service in any kind of volunteering or going to, once the country started getting rid of people going and serving in the military for a year or two, a lot of that, those are all breakdowns, in how you respond to authority and your belief in something. Sad to say.
All right.
I don't know how you manage all these people.
All right, let's move on. This episode's cockroach. Tucker Carlson, guest, tells Fox viewers that COVID vaccines are, quote, declining in effectiveness very quickly, and unquote. This goes back to earlier, Jill was talking about what the media is doing these days when it comes to talking about COVID. And I know that Tucker Carlson is not a favorite. I know definitely not a favorite of Jill. She's putting her hands in her head.
He really is. I mean, he's been vaccinated and he's telling these people this and they believe it. That's the sad part. It's like, but he's been vaccinated. He doesn't care about you. He cares about his ratings. And you increase his ratings by being dumb.
Right.
Jill's not going to even say a thing.
No, because he's very close to Rupert Murdoch's son. We know they talk every morning at 8 a.m. from what they say in his staff meetings. Personally, he is being bought and paid for to put this out. He's only, I just feel like he's a disgusting creature, a disgusting human being. And I believe that when Matt Gaetz said that story, when he took his underage girl for the dinner, and he goes, remember I was with you and your wife? I don't believe that Tucker was with his wife. I believe that's why he didn't say too much.
And that's why Matt Gaetz is no longer.
And that's why he ain't showing up on that show. Exactly.
Fox News
because
anymore.
It was a little strange. I also just think that he's, what was his stepmother? One of the Swanson heirs, those horrible frozen dinner things that, God, if you had to eat a Swanson dinner, like freezer burn and all, disgusting. That was like, I don't even know.
Gosh, Jen is saying exactly how you should. Tucker's a complete hypocrite.
Horrible human being.
All right. Well, we are at our last call story of the night, and unfortunately, it's a sad one. Another icon is no longer with us. Biz Markie, beloved hip hop pioneer, dead at the age of 57. Thoughts?
It just, for me, it's like, it would just be so nice to see a hip hop artist reach 60.
That's a good point.
Too many are dying in their.
What did he die of?
He had something like a heart attack or a stroke.
Yeah.
And he's been sick for a while.
Yes.
I think he had been on like life support or something.
Yes,
and,
that's what I had read.
I thought so.
They finally took him off of it.
Okay, because I thought he was already,
Because somebody already reported he was being dead.
Yeah, that's right. And they said no,
like
he
a week
wasn't.
ago, and he wasn't.
Right. Okay.
But it would just be nice to see hip hop artists get old. It's so sad to me because like you think about all the ones like that have gone that were pioneers like Heavy D, and of course we talked about DMX.
Yes.
And, not too long ago talked about what is his name? Shock G.
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
Blue Rain says he also had diabetes.
But here's the thing: vote.
Yeah.
Our people need to. If you want things that happen better, and get involved in your community, run for different offices at your school boards. Do whatever. They cannot ignore us. These things, maybe they will live longer, because 9 times out of 10 there were some, medical issues. There's food issues. Yeah. Diabetes doesn't just creep up. Yeah. It's years and years of, food and choices that are available to people in our community. And it's known that we live less than white people, longer, less years.
These are people who don't have health insurance because of their jobs. And a lot of them don't have songs on the radio now. So they're gig workers. They're literally doing gigs still to earn money, because back in the day, hip hop wasn't paying what it pays now.
And the music industry needs to have something set up like the film industry does for the elderly people there too. We have spoken about that. I meant to check to see if there is something, but it does come down to really giving. Now everybody needs to be of service in their community, because we need to look after these people who are getting in their 60s and going on, because it just doesn't look like, it's changed very much for many people. Yeah. And they, the birth, when women are having their babies and going to the hospitals, all of these things, it's very, very critical that our community support itself on that level of going out and vote and pick candidates. And if you don't see a candidate you like, then you run. Yeah. Because clearly you don't need to have to know everything about history anymore. So it's a lot. The bar is a lot lower than I thought.
But look, Gen X has to do something about its health, because there are too many. When we talk about these artists and they pass, they're all Gen X, and it's amazing, because I constantly read or find out about someone that I went to high school with that passed away, and it's discerning.
Well, it was because when it was the real product of fast food nation, when the fast food industry came along and really targeted them and indoctrinated them with belief systems that are akin to their childhood, McDonald's and pleasure and satisfaction. Quick
Cinema says here, spread the word. Obamacare has open enrollment, 1 month to go.
Great.
So spread the word. Well,
yes. And John Lewis, wasn't it his anniversary of his death today?
Yes, today. Yeah. 1 year.
It was.
So we gotta make sure we get voting done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Ladies, you did it again. You hit it out of the park. There we go. Got it. Another epic conversation on state of things. State of things. I got to get that right all the time. So, as always, if the ladies give their contact information before we let them go. So first off, Jill Jones.
I can be found at Jill D. Jones on Twitter, or Jill Jones Music on Instagram and Facebook.
Excellent. And next up from South Carolina.
I will be home next week, actually. So,
all right.
But you can find me at Aisha Staggers on Twitter.
Wonderful. And as we get ready to shut it down, there's a few more comments, so let me just get them in here. Jen is saying, great show tonight. Blue Rains, great convo. Good night. Thank you, Blue Rains. Welcome to the family. Hope you are a regular. And also a few things. If anyone would like to join us, please reach out. We'd love to have some of our family come on and join the conversation. As always, like to thank Blue Rains, Jen, Cinema, Black Beauty. If there's anyone else I forgot. Honeybee Fly 1. I got it right. Honeybee Fly 1. And anyone else who watches live or on the replay, it's appreciated and not taken for granted. We are looking forward to being back again next week. At 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I am just doing one other thing here. Okay, there we go. And I'm Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of epic conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner and 2018 Innovation Award winner given up at the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also host the only online show in the world for fathers and dads, sponsored by Dove Men Care, co-sponsored by Dad Central Canada. And also I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora. They're doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. We will catch you next Saturday, all being good and safe, 9 p.m. Eastern Time with State of Things with Aisha and Jill. God bless, peace well, keep the faith, and walk good.